The truth set you free. In an age of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. TVM report. Going into some breaking news here. You're going to get to see me work on the fly now. See me on, well, I'm not usually that prepared, but I kind of wing it most of the time, but this is really just jumping right into something. Feet first. You know I wrote this, right? I'm gifted and I'm talented. With the brush roll. My brush roll. Not yours. Don't get excited. I know. I had stuff to do. But, you know, this story came up, and this is Peter Nygard. This is just, yeah, this is not a good one. This is a horrible story. This is Peter Nygard could be accused of trafficking in humans. You will, if you look back into my history of my page here, you will see an interview with Peter Nygard's son, Kai. I did a 3-hour interview with him about some of the atrocities, including impregnating women allegedly and removing the stem cells for personal use, allegedly. This is what has been reported. And it's what Kai said in his own words. This is his father. Can you imagine this nonsense of having this guy as your fucking dad? All right, make sure you smash that like button. Welcome, everybody. Excuse me, share this out. This is one of the biggest human trafficking stories in history. And I have that interview on my channel. And we're just going to get right into seeing what they have to say in the courtroom. Let me get this way on back here. So these are Canadian court proceedings. This is going to be a little different than what you're used to seeing here. But everybody check in. Let me know where you're viewing from. And if you've heard of this story.
Present and on the screen.
Yes, we have, and Mr. Nygard has acknowledged that he NCS. Is that correct, Mr. Nygard?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. Good morning.
That
Mr.
is him.
Nygard. Before we begin, I'll just quickly...
Now, Peter Nygard, for those of you who don't know, former fashion mogul, huge company throughout Canada and throughout the world, manufacturing, you know, like you're kind of like your everyday wear about kind of, you know, cheap clothing lines with high price tags or not so high price tags. I never bought any of this stuff, but from what I understand, it was not the highest quality, but he made a lot of money doing it. And he had his own island down in the Bahamas, and you'll hear some of those stories on that interview. But let's continue with the extradition hearing. This is the first hearing you will see on television in Canada.
It's unduly courteous of you, Mr. Wilson.
This is just too, you know, this fucking politeness. Okay.
Afforded public access to this hearing. I will not now repeat my reasons for granting the order, but it will suffice to summarize them as inextricably connected to the constitutionally grounded open court principle, access to justice, and public education. Now, with that said, I want to be clear in reminding all viewers that outside of the order granting the Media Consortium's application, it is strictly prohibited to record or reproduce any part of this proceeding for any purpose.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is any doubt in that regard?
This is fair use. It was on the news.
I just articulated,
and obviously it was
read or heard as a court order. I will be speaking to another publication.
I am not recording and I'm covering it.
Farlinger, and I
don't even know what the hell
it
he's
will be
talking
your
about.
urging. But before I do that, I want
It's
to
the
turn to
international
counsel to formally
story.
get appearances. Mr. Farling?
Morning, my lord. It's Scott Farlinger. and
Morning, my
Rena
lord.
Dixon for the Attorney General of Canada.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Chief Justice Brian Greenspan and my colleagues Jay Prober and Richard Wolson on
Oh,
behalf
no.
of Mr. Nygard.
Good morning. Just so
I could not even.
transparent, this case has been the subject of case management. Some discussions have taken place.
All right. So seriously, is this lawyer for this guy? This is who he chooses? This guy? Are you serious? Seriously.
There'll be filings this morning with respect to.
I don't know if
what
he's
Mr.
serious or
Farlinger
not.
wants to have before me and part of the record. Those
Someone showed
documents
him a
have already been
sarsaparilla.
read. To the extent that they're relevant, they should be
Sorry.
assumed to have, as I say, been
serious.
read and absorbed by me. And for the purposes of this hearing, I won't review them in any detail. I'll simply rely upon the synopsis and summary that you're going to provide this morning, Mr. Farlinger, or you, Mr. Greenspan. Mr. Farlinger?
Yes, good morning, Chief Justice.
Oh, I guess in his little robe, he's got
Chief Justice,
the
this
red
is an
thing.
application
Makes him a
for an order
judge.
for committal for extradition brought pursuant to Section 29 of the Extradition Act. Mr. Nygard is before the court today by a video link from the institute, from Headingley Institution. He is sought for prosecution by the United States of America. Was arrested on December 14, 2020 on a provisional arrest warrant brought pursuant to that act. He's been in custody since that time.
Hey guys, make sure you give this a like.
This
and,
matter has been
share it
brought
out.
forward today as we expect proceeding on consent this morning. And that is, we expect Mr. Nygard will be entering his consent to committal before you and in writing pursuant to Section 70 of the Act today. And I can indicate to the court that I've now received from my friends an executed consent form that I'll ask.
When he says his friends in here, it's like he's talking about the opposition. He's talking about the defense. So they call each other their friends. I don't know. It's like I don't know if it's like some. It looks pretty Quaker to me. I mean, I don't know. Quaker, shaker, barrister, butcher. I don't know.
Them to file prior to the conclusion of these proceedings as Exhibit 4 that was executed yesterday before Mr. Valgertson, who I understand is not counsel of record for Mr. Nygard in this proceeding, but is among his counsel. The consent being taken, and once that's marked and filed as a result, the Extradition Act mandates that an order for committal for extradition will go today.
I would
pursuant to
shave
Section
my head.
29. In terms of procedure, I'm going to propose that the Attorney General first file its initiating materials pursuant as Exhibits 1 through 3. With the court's permission, I'll then have some brief submissions in light of the significant public attention to this proceeding in order to provide some context to the hearing and to the extradition process generally. My friend, Mr. Greenspan, will then have some submissions, and at the end of those, I will ask that he, in conjunction with the court, canvass Mr. Nygard with respect to his consent to committal on the authority to proceed offense and confirm with Mr. Nygard his written consent, which was executed yesterday. And once that consent's been given for the record, I'll then ask that the order issue and the proceedings may be concluded. Chief Justice, the first exhibit we're going to seek to file is the Minister's authority to proceed. We refer to it as the ATP. It's dated March 4, 2021. And I can indicate to the court that I've already
Looks a lot
provided
like an
copies
American
of the
courtroom,
exhibits to Madam Clerk. Just
I don't know how many American courtrooms y'all have been in, but I have been in a few. And it seems like they have the same wood panel supplier.
for some convenience. The ATP is the initiating document issued by the Minister of Justice's delegate. It authorizes the Attorney General to seek committal for extradition, and it also specifies the Canadian offense that we're seeking committal for. In this instance, the ATP specifies the offense as being trafficking in persons pursuant to Section 279.01 sub 1 sub B of the Criminal Code. I can indicate that the authority to proceed filing formally initiates the extradition hearing before you today, and I'll ask that Madam Clerk please mark that as Exhibit 1.
Okay, so essentially what they're saying is they have had this proceeding. It was initiated by the United States. There are certain parties that this has to go through in order to be approved. It's not going to go overnight. And what I believe that they are doing now is they are beginning to separate. Hey, what's up, Girls for Truth? It is, and Denise, how's everybody I think that he's beginning to separate the American case from the Canadian case, essentially.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I think they want
next
to.
two
I think they want to smoke his motherfucking boots in Canada.
Are the certified record of the case dated February 1st, 2021, and a supplemental
But
record
here
of the
too.
case dated March 23rd, 2021. These are prepared and certified by the prosecuting authorities in the United States, and they generally constitute the U.S.'s primary evidence in support of the extradition hearing. Given that we're proceeding by consent this morning, I don't propose to review them in any detail, but they are significant for this morning's purpose only in that they do confirm that Mr. Nygard is sought for prosecution by the United States, and that as a result, we are very technically proceeding under Section 29, Sub 1, Sub A this morning. Chief Justice, with respect to the overall process, the context for this proceeding is that the extradition process is a three-stage process, characterized by the facts that it is designed to be an expedited process and move through the courts at an accelerated pace.
I'm telling you something. This
And that
guy's
the process-
voice makes me just. Woo! I am going to just jump through a little bit of this gentleman right here because he is. Wow. Okay, let's get to this guy. Seems a little more exciting. Greenspan.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Farlinger. Mr.
My
Greenspan, if I could-
Canadian Khazarian friend.
Thank you. My friend is
Khazadian.
quite correct that
Is
the
Khazadian.
submissions provide perhaps the entree or the opportunity to further explain the decision-making that has been taken today and the decision by Mr. Nygard.
And of course, in the closing, you can sort of hear every little fold in my cheeks from inside and out because I've had a little store of Canadian whiskey before I've come into court today, my lord. Where's Matlock? He's like a Canadian
Consent to
Matlock.
his committal on the single count.
Matladian, Canatlock. I like to mix words. Join me.
Set out in the authority to proceed. My friend has indicated that it's a three-step process, the first being ministerial through the International Assistance Group, and the International Assistance Group identified as the delegate on behalf of the Minister of Justice. One offense that was comparable, one offense that...
When do they have a video game where they take this Peter Nygard to a dock? And I'm saying in a video game, Fantasyland, where he would be placed in some sort of chair with wheels, perhaps a wheelchair. In this video game, the goal is for you to duct tape him to the wheelchair, and he has to try to get out before the wheelchair goes off the dock into the freezing cold Canadian drink, whatever it would be. I'm sure there's little ice pieces floating around there, some hungry little sharks like cold water. And this is the video game that I would propose. And then he would just, I don't know, put a little extra cement, duct tape a little extra cement onto him in the video game. And then he has to, however, he's got to try and get out of it.
captured the conduct
I like that game.
that was alleged in the United States. We then go to this phase. This is
I'm
the judicial
sorry.
filter, the screening process.
I didn't
And
expect this.
that is a limited process, as the courts have said. But in addition to that limited process, it's a limited process only.
See, I'm not making fun of what he did or anything like that, but this is ridiculous. He has been up there way too freaking long. Let's get this guy tried for his crimes and bring him to justice. There are a lot of people that have reportedly suffered so much because of this man, and something needs to be done about it. I mean, so many people have come forward. When I see this guy right here, this clown representing him, it's ridiculous.
In relation to the single comparable offense
And
upon which it was determined that the matter proceed pursuant to the authority to proceed.
Whoa.
Therefore, the other
He is going to hurt himself and sprain that thing.
allegations in the United States are not subject to this judicial filter, are not subject to this screening process, are not subject to challenge before the court at this time. Only the single count, the single count upon which, just with some reluctance, we agree that based upon the very low threshold of evidence necessary to justify committal for extradition, that threshold has been met in the record of the case and is sufficient to require or agree to the consent to committal on that one count.
Understood, Mr. Greenspan, and I'll just state for the record the court's understanding and clarity. I'm mandated to accept what is a consent committal, and I understand, notwithstanding that any filter that I might be able to exercise, any gatekeeping function I might exercise, in this instance relates only to the one charge, as Mr. Farlinger described it, you confirm it, is the Canadian charge. So your consent committal.
You know what, Island Girl, that is true. He has, you know, a lot of people say that he was a lot worse, calling him the Canadian Epstein, but a lot of people said he was a lot worse. And wow, when you get into that category, it's hard to tell who's the bigger piece of garbage.
On behalf of Mr. Nygard, and my judicial validation speaks only to that one charge, and nothing further should be taken from this proceeding.
And once again, as my friend invited the notion of a public education aspect of this proceeding, and as Chief Justice, you've encouraged it as well, as part of that public education, the next phase, the surrender phase, which is ministerial, there will be submissions made to the minister. There will be extensive submissions made in which both fairness and our respectful submission will dictate the limitation of the surrender to the one charge upon which he delegated the International Assistance Group to proceed, and that is on the basis of the one offense. Once again,
Nice.
the other offenses,
You're getting ready for Mafia
charges
Monday.
in the United States, had they been part of the authority to proceed, could well have been challenged before you, could well have been tested before you, could well have been filtered before you. But in our respectful submission, we're precluded from doing that, and therefore it goes to the minister to determine whether or not other offenses will be added as part of that surrender. We do have as one, and just only one. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Only one feature. There is one of the offenses alleged in the United States for which we would make the legal submission that there is no comparable offense in Canada, and so the minister would be precluded from proceeding with that offense. But having said that, nevertheless, there hasn't been the opportunity to challenge any other offense other than this. And we, again, have said that the threshold, and indeed, Justice Cromwell in the Supreme Court of Canada in MM versus the United States of America expressly said that unless we can establish that the evidence upon which this threshold is based was manifestly unreliable, then there really is no effective challenge, and we acknowledge that.
This is the defense lawyer, by the way, if you can't tell.
I'm just going to say, Mr.
A lot of legalese.
Amidst the qualifications that I think are important and understandable for you to make, and obviously Mr. Farlinger is not endorsing anything that might reflect on the weakness or strength of the position of prosecuting authorities in due course. I certainly understand you to be saying that this court ought not to be seen doing what I said it isn't doing. But in that regard, I just want to make sure you have no difficulty, I take it, and we'll get to this in a moment, with the report that I have to provide, not providing any further details, because in some instances, obviously those details would be particularly useful or favorable to the defense in the case of that executive discretion that ultimately is exercised. So I understand the consent in this case.
That's interesting.
Foregoing any of those additional details or comments.
Got to wrap it up quick in a public place.
That's correct, sir. So that at this point, there is, as my friend
He's got to keep it moving.
Consent to committal. Let me perhaps provide the registrar with it.
All right, the consent to committal is Peter Nygard has basically signed an agreement saying that he is willing to deal with this one particular charge in the United States. Now they're going to take this back to Toronto. Probably Canada has filed, from what I understand, some charges against him. So now they're going to try and keep it in Canada. And
Mr. Nygard has asked me to advance
there he
this
is.
position.
Wow. Boy, there's a lot of people that are really, really,
To
really
advance.
think that this right here is where this mother effer belongs.
This position that although, in fact,
And I have a connection to this case that is through some friends and people that, you know, have been very close to this organization in a lot of different ways. And I can just say that I was on a FaceTime call. Well, I'm not going to say it.
consenting to the committal, he does so
Not with him.
despite his continuing challenge to the veracity and reliability
Absolute
of the
monster.
evidence contained in the record of the case. He has always unequivocally maintained his
And from my understanding, allegedly, a lot of his staff are also filing reports as victims. From my understanding, that is alleged.
innocence of any wrongdoing. This process can now move forward in order for him to face trial in the United States on an expedited basis and for him to have the opportunity to raise his defense and to challenge the truthfulness of the evidence which has been brought against him. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Greenspan. Mr. Clark?
Yes, my lord. I would thank my friend for his
That son of a bitch sitting
submissions
there. They got him in
and,
there like Hannibal Lecter, right where he belongs. Sit down.
I don't intend to veer off into the content of what will ultimately be submissions to the minister on surrender, but I will point out that the ATP offense is the sole consideration. The fact that it's a single offense designated in the ATP is of no moment.
I think I read a story. Now this is alleged, but I think I read a story that this guy does. He goes on Thursday nights and he does a Christina Aguilera show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Be a little mama, doom 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 doom.
Today's
Go
proceedings. That's
hang
the
out,
offense
why?
that the minister's
Here's
delegate
why.
selected. And with respect to the issue of what Mr. Nygaard
He
may
gets
or
rid of
may
the
not
shadow, though.
ultimately be surrendered on to face trial on in the United States, with respect to American offenses, I imagine I should look forward to a spirited discussion with respect to surrender that will likely occur in the Manitoba Court of Appeal, as my friend and I may have a different view to express it.
Anytime the word spirited is used in a juridical context, everybody knows what that means. And
Yeah,
it
thanks, Captain
makes for
Obvious.
some enjoyable days ahead, I suppose, for those who enjoy that sort of thing.
I
Let me
do.
just say for the record, formally, Mr. Farlinger, if I haven't already, that based on the consent commit document filed, as I said, the statutory fulfillment of 29 sub 2 of the Extradition Act, I can formally order that Mr. Nygard be committed and be surrendered as set out in the order that Mr. Greenspan just filed. Do you need anything further from me formally in respect of the committal?
A few details, my lord. We have provided draft orders in advance of this proceeding in triplicate, and I would ask that those be signed by the court, of course. Secondly, once committed and once the order for committal goes, it's the responsibility of the extradition judge to issue a caution to the person sought pursuant to Section 38.
Committal is not him being committed to any institution. It is the committal to the accepting of the charge and the possible extradition in the paperwork. There will be a lot of Canadian flim going on here with these gentlemen and my lords. And it's fucking bullshit because he should not be. Never mind. You know what I'm saying?
Of the act,
You know what I'm talking about.
and the individual should be cautioned that he cannot be surrendered from Canada for a period of at least 30 days,
Okay.
that he has a right to appeal these proceedings.
Look at this freaking animal. He looks like a monster. He is a monster.
Although that right
Damn.
will, of course, be constrained.
Huh. That's some creepy Hannibal Lecter shit right there, isn't it? Serves him fucking
by the
right.
fact of the consent today. and that he has the opportunity to apply for judicial interim release while the minister's surrender decision is pending. And so that caution, I would ask, be given to Mr. Nygard.
So, Mr. Nygard, if I could just ask you to pay attention for a moment. Now that you have consensually committed, as you have this morning, as reflected in Exhibit 4 document that Mr. Greenspan, your counsel, filed, I'm obliged to inform you that you will not be surrendered until the expiry of 30 days, and that you have the right to appeal the order that's now been granted. And you also have the contemporaneous right to apply for judicial interim release or bail. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, Lord, that can conclude this morning's proceedings. So the court, of course, is aware of the report that issues to the minister. I would simply add that pursuant to Section 70, Sub 2, Mr. Nygard's consent, marked as Exhibit 4 today, should also be transmitted to the minister.
And again, for your part, Mr. Farlinger, based on what
Yeah,
is
very sad and
the,
disturbing.
a report by the judge that's filed, it's your position, I understand, that given the nature of the consent in this case,
These guys don't give a shit.
further specific commentary
He's like, I've got to go golfing now. I need to go
in
golfing.
detail be provided
Eh?
to this court in respect of that. report.
Golfing, hey?
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, Chief Justice.
Let me just thank counsel for your assistance. This case was case managed. All of you obviously conducted yourself very professionally and purposefully. You managed to conclude this important phase. It's not a perfunctory phase, despite the consensual nature of it. Mr. Greenspan, I think, properly underscored the safeguards that this phase represents, but you as well, Mr. Farlinger, I think, have expedited proceedings on
Wow.
behalf of the Attorney General and by extension on behalf of the United States of America. So it now rests with the executive branch. It rests with the minister, and we'll see how that proceeds.
Wow.
So thank you again, counsel.
It rests with the minister, which means
Thank you. Good morning.
we're passing the buck. What the fuck just happened? Did you see that? I'm sorry. All right. Well, you just look at how he puts his bat. I mean, look at this.
Thank
Now,
you.
I
Good
feel
morning.
I feel so much better now. Oh, there we go. I feel much better now. Oh, what a relief.
Proceed. So thank you again, counsel, for your participation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Good morning.
Can you see through these things? They said justice is blind, right? Justice is blind. So why don't I just put this mask over my fucking eyes? Because justice is blind. Justice is blind. What's up, half pint? How you doing? Look at this. This is the judge. This should be a postcard for this whole thing, right? Let's watch it again.
Participation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you very
morning.
much. Very serious. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, if I can't see it, there's not a problem. Hey, where's my Molson and my Canadian bacon? I love Canadian bacon. You know, there's something about that American, whatever, streaky bacon. I go, I don't know what the hell it is. But look at this. This is. He is really having a problem with this. Hold on.
It
I'm
now
so
rests
sorry.
with the executive branch. It rests with the minister, and we'll see how that proceeds. So thank you again, counsel, for your participation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, that is just precious. I got to do it one more time.
We'll see how that proceeds. So thank you again, counsel, for your participation.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, cut away the camera. He's going to fall. He's going to fall in his fucking chair. Oh, my God. Well, look, all I could say is I hope justice is served in this case. It's disgusting, and you know you can have the gallows humor and laugh about it a little bit, because that's kind of how I just handle shit. You got to just handle it somehow with humor. Sometimes, it's the only way out for my brain. Sometimes I'm not laughing about it. It's such a bullshit situation. And that is somebody who should not be at all in public. So if you like this video, do me a favor, hit that like button. All right. Make sure you share this. And if you are not subscribed, okay, make sure you subscribe. If you think you're subscribed, you probably not. Because my page was terminated and then I had to get it brought back. It's a long story. Just subscribe again, because I'm going to have a lot more of these videos going. I got some the videos with the NSA. I have Mafia Mondays coming up. Hit me on my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Good Lord, what a pain in the ass this all is. I hope you all enjoyed the show, and I'm so glad you came here. This is just sort of a last minute thing we threw together because I thought it was something very important. And it's very important that people should see that this man is at least being moved, and things are going faster than that. Okay. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys being here. I can't do this without you. Please share this out. Please hit that like button. That is the best way for you to help this channel. And again, go look at the video, the interview with Kai, his son, on my channel. You'll see it's back there. It's from about 4 months ago. All right. You guys take care. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see covered, what you want to see uncovered. This is where the proof meets the truth, baby. Veritas out. See ya.